No, the broadcast is live.
Welcome to the Real Estate Reserve Podcast with your hosts, Jason Balin and Ian Horowitz.
Hey, how's everybody doing? What's up, Ian?
What's up, man? Dude, every time, man, that music just, I don't know. I like it, man. That's all I got to say. So.
Yeah, I screwed up the intro. It's still a work in progress. So today's Monday, April 20th. As you know, for everyone who's been following us on this podcast, we timestamp everything because day by day everything is changing. So got a really good show ahead for everybody. We've got Tim Kane from Kane Home Designs. We're going to bring him in just a second. And then there's been a lot of updates with the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, potentially a new stimulus package that's going to hit hopefully later this week as well. So we're going to dive into that afterwards. So I'm excited to speak to Tim. And the reason why is he's a DC area investor. And I like DC area. Now, obviously, our company's very active in DC and Baltimore. I know both areas extremely well, but most people we've had on the show so far have been Baltimore focused, and that's great. And we have a lot of viewers that are also in the DC metro area, Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland. So it's going to be good to get some of Tim's insights. So let's bring Tim up here real quick. What's going on, Tim?
Hey, what's going on, Jason? Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we just start with this? Why don't you just give everybody a real quick rundown of kind of who you are and a little bit about Kane Home Design?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a full-time investor. Got in about 2011, 12. And Kane Home Designs is my fix and flip and project management company. So we're primarily in the DC metro area. Big fan of Northern Virginia, all parts of DC. And in Maryland, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, and PG. So we've been in business since 2012, done a little over 80 fix and flips, and I project management for other investors. And I'm also, a realtor specializing for investors, kind of full service from start to finish.
Nice. So what's your thoughts currently of the DC market? We've got a lot of insight of what's happening in the Baltimore market with a lot of other experts. And, we all know as close as DC and Baltimore really are together, they are still, they're very similar, but very dislike at the same time.
Yeah, it is interesting. I agree. It's kind of like night and day sometimes. But so on the renovation side, I do a lot in Old Town. I'm from Old Town, Alexandria, and we do a lot in that area. We're still getting numerous showings, a lot of virtual showings, and renovated properties are still going above asking price. We're still listing them the same amount. So it's still active in those certain areas where you have kind of dual income families that are both, government or government contractors where their paychecks really aren't affected. And they're sitting at home on Zillow, still pre-qualified. So we're seeing renovated properties go, but where we see there's a downturn is, maybe someone wanting to use a construction loan or buying an as-is property. People are trying to buy turnkey properties now because they want to hold on to cash, and, finishing a basement isn't in their cards anymore. So turnkey renovated properties are still selling like hotcakes around here in Northern Virginia and DC. So we're still optimistic about it. So we're gonna, we have had to adjust. When we're buying properties, we're trying to stay away from big projects right now. Just quick fix and flips with no permits. I know a lot of inspectors are doing virtual inspections now. So on the acquiring side, we're just trying to get those in and out, but they're still selling. So that's right now, that's what we're seeing. I think that'll change here in Q3, but for right now, pretty consistent.
All right. So as the Baltimore guy, right? Because Jason always says, DC's insulated. DC's insulated.
Right.
I don't say that first. I'm fully insulated.
You say DC's insulated, and it probably is. I mean, I just want to
more insulated.
More insulated. Fair
I'll
enough.
go with that. I'll go with that. Yeah.
But you do feel as though that a lot of the government contractors and government employees haven't been shut down, and you think that's why there's not as much. A lot of your market is based around that whole government scene, correct? And there hasn't been that many layoffs, and things aren't as hurt.
Yeah, correct. Don't get me wrong. Like some counties that are more like trade specific. I know Charles County is expected to take like a big hit.
Right.
But when you have Northern Virginia and you have a dual income family and, they're buying $500,000 home, $400,000 to $600,000 homes is kind of like the first time home buyer in that area. Right. No, I mean, they're still getting, they have the government backing. They're working from home and actually even have more time on their hands. Right. These are millennials that are utilizing virtual tours. I think inspectors are doing a great job with and appraisals with, getting things through. So yes, it's going to get hit, it's minorly getting hit, but guys, things are still multiple offers on all my most recent properties in the last 3 weeks. Right. So I think it will get hit. It's hit, but not amplified in like other areas. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, and DC has gone up a lot, obviously, over the last, let's call it 10 years, for the most part. Now, keep in mind, in the 06, 07, 08, when there was a lot of issues, DC had gone up a lot and it got hit hard. Right. It got hit very fast and then it went right back up just as fast. And I think that's more of the insulation. I mean, I don't want to be, I don't want to, I think the word insulated is a hard word to say because a lot of people are saying, hey, we're insulated, we're in DC and related to a lot of other areas of the country. I do agree. There is a lot of people, like what Tim said, a lot of government workers that, are getting paid. Fortunately, they're in the line of work that they're going to continue to get paid during all this. So that's a good thing. But there's also something to be said about the median housing prices being $400,000 or $500,000, which I agree with as well. Yeah. When things go up, when things go down, the median housing prices are typically, in my opinion, at least the safest. I think condo conversions, higher end luxury properties, things like that, those are, with less limited buyer pool, those might take a hit, especially if interest rates eventually rise, which haven't. And then the lower end stuff potentially as well. Although there's really no lower end market in the DC in the district to begin with. I mean, stuff that was somewhat low, investors have been able to flip for $400,000. And
sure. No, I think you hit it nail right on the head. I mean, that's especially with these client, these prospective buyers, they're already qualified. So what's happened is there's like a sense of urgency now that they're locked in at these ridiculously low interest rates and they want to utilize it before, things get bad. So that's why I do think in, over the summer and early fall, that's where we will see an adjustment. But these pre-qualified buyers, they know what's coming. Banks are tightening up, LTVs are changing. So you have like a weird sense of urgency from these already pre-qualified buyers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot. That makes a lot of sense. And I know one of the go-tos down in that Arlington, Nova region is the teardowns and the new house builds. I think you're involved.
Yeah,
you're involved in that. What do you see with that market currently, and where do you think that new build teardown market's headed, both on the investor and buy side?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know we personally are putting that on hold right now. So, a normal tear down for us, we'll buy something in the 500s in North Arlington, 5 to 600, build for 400 and then list 1.3 to 1.5. But that's a year process that involves county permits, engineered plans, the whole 9 yards. So we don't know what next year is going to bring. Right. And unfortunately, sellers are still expecting that 5 to 600,000 acquisitions. And it's just, right now, cash is king, and I don't, too many eggs in one basket. So we personally are slowing down, and those typically sit for a little longer too. The $400,000 to $600,000, even in North Arlington, honestly, townhouses go for like 700 to 800, and there's 15 offers on that townhouse. But once you get above $1 million, that buyer pool slows down. That it changes. So we are staying away from those currently. I know developers in the area that are just pouncing like because they have the capital to do it. Right. But the general consensus is stay away from big projects, especially conversions and new builds, teardowns. But again, that's just our business model. If that's your niche and they can handle it,
Right.
power to you. It's going to be less competitive for them, to be honest.
Yeah. And also some of them that are smaller home builders, they are only going to do one or two at a time. They can put all their They can put all their resources, or if they've already got permits in place. But I agree. I mean, it's the same thing on our end with the lending stuff. We're shying away from the bigger construction projects because who knows? Who knows how long those could take? Who knows what the certain jurisdictions, the permitting process is a nightmare. I mean, Ian, you're probably not too much aware of this, not in the DC area, but like pulling DC permits takes freaking forever. It is a nightmare. Awful. And even if you pay top dollar to get expediters and everything else in it, and those condo conversion projects that were a lot of lenders were all about, and a lot of big developers were all about, because there was a lot of money there. You could buy, when the condo conversion market started, typically, and they couldn't get their hands on deals, they would just buy a nice house, renovated house, and just tear it down in Columbia Heights and build 4 or 5 units out of it. And then pay retail for it because the numbers still work. And then it got saturated. But then the permitting process was just on freaking overload that it makes it difficult.
You have to use a third-party service, and you're paying a lot of money for those third-party services. And another thing is on the fix and flip, cabinets are taking. I'm on back ordered for all my cabinets. My Anderson windows that it's a 5-week turnaround. Now it's 8 weeks. So not only if you're taking a loan on this, definitely underwrite a slower process due to not only permits and inspections, but also material getting there.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff comes out of central Pennsylvania, down the 83 corridor. And I think that's a big issue with, Governor Wolf. He is literally from the Wolf cabinet family.
Yeah.
You would think that he wants that open, but, I get it. It is what it is. It's his point of view. And it is we're having delays with steps and stuff because we get a lot of that stuff out of Lancaster.
Yeah.
Oh, man, my question slipped you.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I think collectively we've seen, and you've probably noticed this as well, is as of now, there's just not as much pain in the marketplace to get the really good deals. April 1st was a big date, obviously, for lenders to see who's going to collect their payments.
Right.
With landlords, their residents and their tenants making payments. May 1st coming up soon is going to be another one. But as of now, there just hasn't been that much pain. And I'm assuming most people seem to be now aware of that, hey, times are different, but it's not like I'm out there getting a home run deal.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It's a weird medium right there because I make probably, I would say 7 to 10 offers a week. And my niche was, face-to-face building bond and rapport. I'm never the highest, there's in the DC market, you have 15, mailers per house. But the other thing I've noticed is people that were scared of foreclosure and pre-foreclosure, they're not scared anymore, right? They know, oh man, nothing's happening, so I can hold on to this longer. So that's a big part of it. Where I do want to be opportunistic though is all these landlords right now. They have a $600,000 townhouse, and let's see what's happening with collections. But that out-of-state landlord that had that monthly auto pay, I think we're going to start to see a spike in that. So decline in foreclosures, but a spike into out-of-state landlords. But my big thing is I'm not used to doing a lot of things over the phone or looking at photos. I let my hand, I go and check these houses out all day long, all week long. So it's hard to find the pain, via email and phone. You just send out an offer. They're like, I'll just hold on to it longer. And that's another thing too, is people have just sheltered in place where they're just not even dealing. They have bigger problems, to deal with. And the repercussions, it seems like they're not as afraid of them anymore, like losing the house.
Right.
So it's a weird time.
Yeah, no, that's a real interesting point. You're the first person to bring up that we've interviewed over the past few weeks of, that is a market that a lot of people used to target, pre-foreclosure and going after those people. But the whole thing that you just bring up about landlords, I don't disagree with you. That's going to be a hot target. But the question is, how many of those landlords are going to say the same thing? They're not going to foreclose on me. I'm going to run this thing out. So what's our time horizon? Does it go from now to 24 months, and now you're in rapport building, And the problem with rapport building, like you said, is over the phone and via these types of calls or however you do it. How can you build rapport virtually? And I think that's and I know there's a lot of virtual wholesalers out there or virtual buyers, and they do it, but it's a lot more transactional. So I think it's going to be something interesting that a lot of people are going to have to navigate and figure out how to build that rapport online.
Yeah, it's these type of platforms are great. It's a little bit better, but my average person that has a distressed property, some people don't know how to work these platforms or send a photo on their phone, and they're like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. So it's tough. And then you underwrite it super conservative, and then you kind of just write yourself out of the deal.
Exactly. Yeah, I know we have a few minutes left, and I know you got to run. But what I was going to ask you earlier is I know you do work for a lot of you do work for homeowners or you do work for investors. How has your company been handling everything with working in people's houses? Has that work stayed consistent during all this?
Yeah, my home improvement business has put on a hold. Most people that we do like luxury home, in Vienna and DC conversions and, English basements. A lot of people are using their retirement plans and 401ks. So that's definitely been on hold, right? But we've been respecting, we're doing a lot of things more virtual. My whole crew, there's 4 or 5 of us that would go in at a time. Now we're just partnering up. So two people in, 2 people out. We're definitely, wearing all the appropriate gear and whatnot. But there's a lot of people that just do not want us in their house right now, in which we 100% respect. So we'll do a lot of work, due diligence on the front end and everything we can. And then I'll do a 5-minute walkthrough, and then we'll go outside to talk. And people seem to be okay with that, or we'll catch up later on the phone. So we're just adapting. That's the best we can.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of is on the same place. Is Ian frozen?
Oh, Ian's frozen. No, that's just his resting place.
I'm like, I wasn't sure if he was thinking, writing, or frozen.
He's in thought.
Ian, you're slowing down our feed, bud. If you can hear this. Well, no, it's good that you diversified into a bunch of different business models, because I think that's important right now between flipping and wholesaling and buying having rentals and doing some construction. I think that's one of the things that we brought up a lot is my belief that if every industry is going to survive, the strongest lenders, the strongest fix and flippers, the strongest construction, the ones who have a good solid sale business model, the strong are going to survive. The weak, unfortunately, are not going to, and the ones in the middle, they better be working their asses off right now. And I think in general, real estate investing by no means is business as usual, but it's a working business model that's open for business. And people right now, investors right now, should be doing their best and going all in with the resources that they have. And I'll never forget one real estate agent that we interviewed maybe a few years ago up in Philadelphia market. He said he's been through maybe 4 or 5 of these. Wow. And he said, during these times, I go all in with everything. I go all in with my marketing. I go all in with my team. This is the time. And this is one of the reasons why Ian and I had wanted to do more podcasts than we've done in the past. And, we're usually very vocal and do a lot of stuff on the web, but it's, spend the time and get it in front of your target audience as much as you can, because that's who's there. Like, my guess is the homeowners that are getting 15 mailers probably aren't getting 15 mailers right now. The people that were spending money on Google AdWords are not spending that money on Google AdWords anymore. I mean, I typed in hard money lenders last night on Google AdWords, and it was us and one other lender. And I mean, we've been reevaluating all of those things. My budgets have gone down on some of these platforms. Our exposure has gone up. Like, this is not the time to not market. This is the time to market and get in front of everybody, and be optimistic, but be cautious. But then at the same time, you don't have to jump in on every deal that you do. Get your phone ringing, get on the phone, get negotiating. Chances are, I'm sure your sellers are probably going to say no to your offer at the beginning more than ever now, of like, wait a second, like, I just went with you because the other person, there's more people that are interested now. But that being said, maybe not as qualified or can get the number you want, but you're in front of them. And then when the pain comes back, when it's ready, they know where to call.
And that's just to caveat on that. A great thing that the ones that I've just been cold dripping, and the ones that I knew I was just too low, I wasn't the highest offer. 9 times out of 10, I'm losing to someone that was taking a high interest, hard money loan, maybe, just starting out or whatever, a 203K loan or whatnot. But now all of a sudden that might be back in play. So I've actually been going, to my cold drip and slow drip leads and revisiting, times have changed. And we're just staying simple to what we know. We're doing quick fix and flips right now, underwriting conservatively, trying not to stay away from the permit and inspection process, and getting things on the market as soon as possible, even if it's just cleaning it up and selling it as is, because just to utilize the pre-qualified buyers, because, I think we're all in agreement it's going to be a little different towards the second half of the year.
Yeah. And I think one thing that is going to be very interesting that is going to be, I don't want to call it another test, but I think it's going to be very interesting that we may have this little summer boom, especially kind of in the DC area, because sellers aren't necessarily just listing properties. Like if you were thinking about listing in the spring market, then all this happened, you're not listing. And I noticed that I was looking at some housing trends earlier this morning, and I think it was like it's down by 45% of available housing listings. And normally that would have occurred. So all of a sudden there's going to be a little boom and a little spike. It's probably going to be artificial, which is going to weird people out, because you're like, oh shit, real estate's great. Everything's good again. Yeah. So who knows? And, we all know when the news says real estate's great, you got to be cautious. And when they're like, hey, real estate's in the shitter, real estate sucks, so stay away from real estate. That's when you really want to be involved in it. So
I love it. Yep. Great mindset. Yep.
So, all right, man. Well, anything else you want to share with everybody? And then why don't you just leave your contact information so people know where to find you as well?
Yeah, for sure. Just thanks again, guys, for having me. And just to add on to it, I hope everyone's staying safe and be opportunistic where you can, underwrite conservatively, and build business relationships. And if anyone needs any help with underwriting or listing properties in the DC area, been doing it since 2012. And even if it's a cup of coffee, would love to just build more business relationships. You can catch me, on my just personal Facebook page, or you can do kanehomedesigns.com. You can see my portfolio, and you can shoot me a message there. And I'm all about paying it forward. And if anyone has any questions, or if I can be any value add to anyone, by all means, please reach out.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Talk soon.
Yep. Take care.
Dude, my internet crashed. I don't know what happened. So,
dude, you missed the going live time. Your internet crashes.
Oh, dude, it's been crazy.
I even wore a matching kind of style hat that you have today.
Yeah, there you go. But no, Tim was awesome. I met him at a storage mastermind event. And he presented, and it was very interesting stuff that's going on across all facets of real estate. But enough of how we met. There's a ton of stuff going on right now. You said you have some. I got some eviction updates. You got some PPP updates, and I have the overall market. What you got?
Yeah. Go through your stuff real quick.
So I just had an interesting phone call before I jumped on here as I was racing home doing 90. Hopefully my wife doesn't listen to this. I had an interesting phone call with one of our investors. And I said, hey, what are you thinking? And, he said, look, it's real interesting time. I'm trying to deploy money. I don't know where to put it. I don't know what deals I'm looking at or what I'm not. He goes, but you know what the biggest problem is? He goes, how can you underwrite a deal when you don't know the disposition, right? And I was like, my God, that's the answer that I'm looking for, is that I know what I expect the disposition to be, but the question is, when will that happen? And it was a real interesting conversation. So it's good to see that everybody on all fronts are talking about where we're going or where we're headed. I just want to update again from ERIT. We should really have them on here. I just got an email saying that they have confirmed now that the courts in Maryland are scheduled to reopen June 8th. They're going to send us an email out on May 1st. They said, can you still submit your suits listed for E-Writs. You got to do it for, again, only the ones that we mentioned the other week, which ones are accepting. Catonsville is now not accepting failure to pay rents. Towson is now accepting failure to pay rent suits, which will be date and stamped, and you'll be put in order in that time frame. What will happen to evictions that I already had scheduled? Currently, we are being told that they will be rescheduled as soon as the courts open. So if you had proceedings going into this, it sounds like they're going to be rescheduled. Once courts open, will we be able to resubmit writs for any resident that hasn't paid? They say, yes, there is a stay on 60-day filing requirements from the date of judgment. So it's good to see that the courts are taking active processes. And you could probably use this as a guideline to when we expect the state to open. You know, if they're saying June 8th, I would say, maybe a week or two just prior to that is when Governor Hogan is probably targeting to get everything reopened.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
good to know. Anything else related to the eviction stuff?
There was one other thing. I got to pull it up. But you can go ahead with the PPP stuff. If it was something pertinent, I'll drop back in and grab it for you.
So as of this morning, I guess they're in final negotiations for this updated PPP. I mean, we had conversations on Sunday morning with people, and I don't think there was any leeway on it. Then Sunday afternoon said they did. And then I guess what's it going to the Senate to sign on Wednesday? Yeah. So I think it's another 310 billion for PPP. So I would say, I've been getting a lot of notifications from like Intuit for QuickBooks and other third party, but besides obviously CPA agents and banks and other places, but just like third party places where you can apply through. I would make sure right now you get on the horn if you haven't got your approval. Even if you applied but you haven't got your approval, you need to get that approval, because from our understanding, and again, there's still not many people that we know that got funding yet in place on the first set, but it does seem that everyone who got their approval in place on the front end is getting committed to getting that funding, that money at some point. But who knows? That could still be a few extra weeks. So I would go right now and make sure you do whatever you can who is it? Marco Rubio, who's a big advocate of this. I think he was on CNBC.
Him and Cardin, I think. Yeah, because that's who Jason, when we had him on, that's who he did his webinar with was Senator Rubio.
Yeah, so I heard him this morning, and his advice he said to two parties is, number one, if you haven't got your money yet or you haven't applied yet, go and do that immediately. On the other side, he's encouraging the banks and everybody back office to make sure they set everything in place, because they're redoing things with underwriting again, and they have new guidelines. So I'm guessing it's a different application this time around. So I would suggest go all in with that and make that a priority. I know there was a lot of unhappy people, especially independent contractors and 1099s and single member entities that didn't have any payroll, because they had to wait an extra week before applying. But now it looks like, or hopefully everyone will have a fair shot. And obviously 310 million or billion still not going to be enough for everybody, but it is what it is. And, be as proactive as possible to try to get it underway.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting what they're bringing up through the Senate. Not that we want to get into a huge political debate, but I was reading an article the other day that one side of the aisle wants to bring up either a subsidy payment to everyone in America, or do a year of mortgage and rent forbearance. The question is, at what point do our local the local community organizations that we have get involved and say, well, that'd be ultimately detrimental to landlords, right? All of this is detrimental back to real estate, whether companies get funding or not. It all relates back to real estate. And it's real interesting to see where things go, because if something like that takes place, I think as though we as landlords or real estate investors would have some really, really, really interesting times to navigate above and beyond what we're already dealing with. I don't want to get into a huge political discussion, but you got to be aware of what you see swimming out there, and what is real and what's not. And at a certain point, you may or may not have to step up and get involved. So
yeah.
Man,
nice.
I felt like you were talking more because it was DC related. You were all pumped.
We don't get to talk about DC. I mean, I equally like DC and Baltimore. I mean, I've been very actively lending and buying properties in both those markets. And a lot of the stuff that we just typically talk about are Baltimore focused, just because I would say in general, the majority of the units that we do on the lending side are Baltimore. But if you look at volume combined, it's about equal, just because the loan amounts are a little bit higher in the DC area. But it's good to have, someone in DC that's, optimistic and, wants to continue to, to do good things in that market. Everyone we typically interview are Baltimore based. He was mostly DC based. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, I that's good for you, because Wednesday, I don't know who we got lined up for tomorrow. If you're doing one, I'm at the fire department, but Wednesday we have Vernon Vaughn jumping on here, who's an infill lot builder. Really watched his company explode over the past few years. He does a lot in the I almost said DC, a lot in the PG County area. So be interesting to hear how, because I still see him cranking out new plans and pushing out property. So it'd be interesting to hear what he's got going on. Do you have someone lined up for tomorrow?
I don't know. It's a secret.
Well, it's a secret. All right, fair enough. Thursday, I know Thursday's a secret guest. Now, Friday on the case study, I do have someone lined up that I think will be beneficial for everybody about cost segregation and tax type stuff. Jerry Lott. So that'll be awesome. He'll be doing a screen share. So that's definitely one that you want to jump on and catch. Enough crap about us. Jason, it's Monday. I think Monday shows we should start saying, what's our goal for the week?
What's our goal for the week?
What's your one goal that you're trying to get accomplished this week? I know mine. Might as well keep you accountable. We got people watching us every day. Come on, one goal, man. I put you on blast. I know I did.
I'm no short on goals.
You're not short on
goals.
I'm
trying to think of a good goal. I mean, I have 100 goals every week that I'm doing, and I have them all written down right there.
I know, but you don't have one that you're like, this week, this is it. I'm getting rid of it. Like mine, I'm trying to finish this damn funnel that I've been working on for 3 weeks.
Landing page.
Yeah, landing page.
That's a good goal. That's a good goal. I mean, I've been doing a lot of transactional work lately, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, transactional work is normal work that you would do in any given day to support your business that you help, inside your business. The problem with most people is all they do is transactional work, and they don't do any of the business building or the growth or the marketing or processes and strategies. So they're always stuck in that transactional work. I've always been like 50-50, but lately I've had more transactional work because there's just a lot of good loan opportunities out there that I'm weeding through and, making sure we do, make good decisions on them. So I've spent a lot of time on that. One thing that I'm lacking that I want to continue to spend the time on, and I did this the first week this all started, but not too much as more education and learning and podcasts, audiobooks, and articles. That's typically, I'm trying to spend about 2 hours a day on that. And right now I'm at about 30 minutes to an hour. Right. And usually by doing that, it's about an hour of a book and 30 minutes or so of a podcast, and then 30 minutes of like miscellaneous stuff. Right. And right now I haven't done too much on any books. So it's mostly been podcasts because I love podcasts. What's up, Rusty?
Well, I think you're at a disadvantage. You're not leaving your house, right? Like if you started on the way to the office, whether you got an hour-long drive like me, I get 2 hours built in every day because I got an hour each way. But at least if you started on the way to the office,
I'm somewhat jealous of that.
Yeah. And then you continue it in, and then you got your first 30 minutes out of the way, right? Like, so I guess you're kind of missing your normal routine.
Yeah, so. You're right. I missed that. It wasn't a ton, but it was at least 30 minutes a day of that. So I'm doing my 30 minutes of podcasts, and then probably another 30 minutes of, articles and things like that that I'm reading. And they're all either real estate, business, or personal finance or marketing. I would say they're all related to that. That's how it's always been. So right before we end, I'm going to mention one other quick thing that I saw today on CNBC. Because I do feel like I'm a research analyst these days. Like I'm not looking to do research, but I'm researching indirectly because number one, I probably talk to 50 real estate investors every day. That's not an exaggeration. Either between phone or email, 50 of them. I know that sounds crazy, but not, so I see the types of deals that are out there right now, and I see the type of deals they're buying and seeing, things like that. So that plus, you know what, I see more content than I'm leading to believe, actually, come to think about it, because I did watch, while I was grinding through a bunch of stuff at like 7 o'clock this morning, I did watch a good bit of an hour of CNBC that I got a lot of value out of. What's up, Ronnie? So one thing that I noticed, remember at the end of this conversation with Tim, we mentioned how we're going to potentially have like this little mini boom, which I believe will occur. It was like 45%. The housing or sellers active listings for people that are ready to sell their houses is down by 45%.
Right.
So I think there's just going to be an influx of buying and selling quickly, and it's going to be somewhat artificial, and who knows how it's going to last. But one thing I saw on CNBC today, which I do agree with, is this part of the country, there's a lot more risk for pricing declines, and a lot of that's related to tourism,
right?
Vacations, Texas oil,
right.
Things like that. And I do, for the most part, agree with that. Some of those areas, I mean, the reason why South Florida and Las Vegas got absolutely killed during those times is tourism and vacation spots, and a lot of interest in going to those areas. So I'm hoping that there's not one area that just gets killed. Hopefully that doesn't exist. That being said, I do believe that as a whole, the market is going to slide down there as things adjust. But
yeah, I think oil's at what, $8, and it's tanking by the barrel or something crazy like that. So all that's related. Actually, I'm surprised that they don't have more stuff about North Dakota up there, where all the oil is being dug up there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens across the nation and where everything's headed. So
yeah, exactly. Ronnie, to answer your question, I'm guessing you mean spec lending on a spec home for new construction. I'm guessing that's the answer too. I mean, we haven't been too aggressive on new construction right now. The only stuff that we've been doing is where the land value where is it a high price land value. If someone wants to buy a property for a lot for $50,000 and $300 to build, or whatever the case, $250 to $300 to build, we probably wouldn't be too aggressive on that, because our day one value on the lot, there's just not enough value in the lot itself. If there is a high collateral lot, absolutely. I spoke to a guy in Northern Virginia who was buying a lot for $560, similar to like what Tim Kane would have done in the past. And to us, that makes a lot of sense, because there's a lot of value on day one. Unfortunately, I know it's hard sometimes for people to think about it like this, but if a lot's worth $50,000, and even if we lend $1 on it, I don't want that. If we got to foreclose, I don't want that lot. And by the time we did foreclose, our dollar loan would end up being potentially tens of thousands by the time we even got that back. So to us, it just doesn't make sense right now. In the future, maybe. We've certainly done it in the past, but if we do a loan, on a $550,000 lot, and let's say we're at a 50 LTV on that, there's still real value that can get unloaded quickly. So, all right, man. Anything else you want to add, and we'll call it quits. And I might be on tomorrow, solo or with another guest.
I mean, I can try to jump on. There's no guarantees. It's a little crazy at the firehouse trying to do these things. I'd hate to bail on somebody in the middle of a full blown thought. But with that being said, it's Monday. Get out there. I hate to do the Motivation Monday crap, but dude, now's the time. I think we have some good people coming on this week between Tim and who we got lined up the rest of the week, that you can refocus your business, get out there, do what you need to do. Pick one goal, get it done this week, and let's go. And I see Ronnie's comment is flips are a better focus right now. I think so. I wouldn't be spec home building right now, because no one knows the future of the market. Flips are even a little tough, but if you can buy it at the right price, man, get out there, buy it, do a deal, get it done. The key is get in, get out. But earlier in this podcast, Tim brought up a lot of valid points. That issues on supplies, issue on inspectors, issue on lending. There's just a lot of roadblocks that you need to overcome currently. So that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. Get out there, have a good week, and I know I'll definitely be back on Wednesday.
See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time.